Okay, moving on, let's do a couple problems, specifically one problem that I see on measurement review, which is what we didn't get to in class, is the computation of different mathematical functions, multiplication, division, adding, and subtracting, and how to report the proper number of significant figures based on our significant figures rules. So let's look at number 3 on measurement review. We have, the question tells us to report the proper number of significant figures for this particular operation, which is parentheses, a multiplication operation divided by a subtraction operation. What I want to do first is to look at each operation individually, and then we'll look at the operation as a whole. So if we look at this individually, we see that we're left with 6.404 times 2.91. Let's just look at this by itself. We know from our rules of significant figures that this particular this particular value, 6.404, has 4 SF, and I'm going to be using abbreviations for significant figures. And 2.91 has 3 SF. Now, the rules as it pertains to dimensional analysis, when you are multiplying, says that you are going to be multiplying, and then you round to the lowest number of significant figures of any number involved in this computation. Since there are only 2 numbers, all we have to do is compare these two, and we see that 3 significant figures is the lowest amount, so we must round to 3 significant figures. So here, I'm going to put this in my calculator, 6.404 times 2.91, and the value that it spits out for me is 18.63564. This is not the correct number, although it is what your calculator tells you. The correct number has to be reported to the proper number of significant figures, which is 3. Therefore, we look at the third significant digit in this particular number is 6, and we look to the digit to the right of it to determine whether we round up or down, and we see that the proper value reported should be 18.6. We do not round up, and we are now reporting 3 significant figures. All right, now let's look at the other operation. The other operation is parentheses 18.7 minus 17.1. Remember, when dealing with adding and subtracting, our number of significant digits is really only important when we're speaking after the decimal place. Remember, the whole numbers, we report those whole numbers after computation, just as you would any regular adding and addition or subtraction problem. This case, since we have one place after the decimal in both of these, then our answer needs to be rounded to one place after the decimal. So 18.7 minus 17.1 gives us a value of 1.6. And that is a total of 2 significant figures, and we round it to one place after the decimal based on the rules for addition and subtraction. So now that we see that we have 18.6 and 1.6, now let's look at what this problem looks like when we do the entire computation together and show you what you should do. So if we write the problem as it's written, 6.404 times 2.91, and that's all divided by 18.7 minus 17.1. If we were to disregard all of the work that we have done previously, and let's just look at this particular problem. I'm going to draw a little line here to separate. Let's do the computation first, and let's not worry about the rounding just yet. If we do the computation first, we get, again, 18.63564 divided by 1.6. Here is where it's important. Even though separately, meaning up here, even though separately we have rounded the significant figures, this problem cannot be done separately. We actually have to do it all together, which means that you cannot leave out these numbers here in your computation when you are doing the whole thing. You have to plug these numbers in. What you do not have to do is to consider them in the significance. Again, you cannot leave them out, but you do not consider them in significance, which means that, technically speaking, this number, although it has 7 digits in it, only 3 of them are significant. And that would be the 1, the 8, and the 6. And in this value on the bottom, you have, again, still 2 significant figures associated with that one. You must use all of these values in your computation, which means that in the calculator it should be 18.63564 divided by 1.6, which will give you a value of 11.647275. That is not the number that you should report. You should report the number based on the final operation that you must do. And the final operation here is division. So since the final operation is division, what are the rules for division? The rules of division say that we need to take and report answer with lowest number of sig figs in the problem. And the lowest number of significant figures in the problem is 2. And those 2 significant figures come from the denominator from the subtraction problem that we correctly rounded to 1 decimal place. Therefore, since we have to report 2 significant figures, we are reporting at this digit, which means that we must look at the 6 to determine whether we round up or stay at the same number. And the 6 is above 5, so we round up. So correctly reported value for problem number 3 on this measurement review worksheet is 12. I know that seems to be maybe a little confusing. I will make sure that I watch the video again if I wasn't sure and did some more practice.